somewhere right now, a vet is feeding their own dog a simple human food most owners throw away. It quietly solves a problem millions of dogs have, but almost nobody talks about it. The last food helps with many of the everyday problems dog owners face. Let's reveal them. Number 1. Scrambled eggs. A dog leaving fur on every couch cushion, scratching more than usual, coat looking thinner than it used to. That's usually a biotin problem, sitting in your fridge already, doing nothing. A plain scrambled egg, no butter, no salt, delivers more biotin than most supplements owners pay good money for, and it's the fix vets quietly use on their own shedding dogs before ever reaching for a bottle off the shelf. The trick is entirely in how it's served. A dog that turns its nose up at a new smell isn't being difficult, it just doesn't recognize what's in the bowl. So mix the egg in warm, straight out of the pan, into the existing kibble until the smell coats every piece. There's nothing left to sniff out and push aside. Owners who've spent months and real money chasing a shedding problem, switching shampoos, switching brands, are stunned watching the same dog finish the bowl in under a minute. And even more stunned, nobody at the vet's office mentioned it sooner. Number 2, Salmon. A puppy that seems a little slower to learn commands than its litter mates, or an adult dog with skin that flakes the second the heater turns on for winter. Both point straight at the same gap, and cooked salmon fills it fast. The DHA inside supports brain development in young dogs and calms irritated skin in older ones, which is why vets keep a portion in their own fridge instead of reaching for a fish oil capsule every time. Serve it plain, boneless, skin off, and most dogs go straight for it. But a dog recovering from illness or just picky by nature often ignores a cold fillet sitting untouched in the bowl. Flake it warm instead, straight off the pan, and mix it through the kibble so the oil coats every single piece instead of pooling in one corner. Within a few weeks, coats stop flaking and start catching light under normal room lighting. Vets call this their shedding season fix. It's just never printed on the fish itself. Number 3, pumpkin. Same food, opposite problems. That's what makes pumpkin one of the strangest tools in a vet's kitchen. A dog with diarrhea gets it, and a dog that hasn't gone in 2 days gets the exact same spoonful, because the fiber works both directions depending on what that gut needs. The dose is where most owners get it wrong. Not a cup, not half a can on guesswork. 1 teaspoon, folded completely into the food so the texture disappears and only the smell is left behind. Dropped loose on top, a dog sniffs it once and ignores it, distrustful of anything sitting alone in the bowl. Mixed all the way through, it vanishes into a meal the dog just eats without a second thought. For a dog with an upset stomach refusing everything else, this is often the one bowl that gets finished completely. Calm again by morning. No emergency vet visit required. Number 4, Sardines. A dog that's slower getting up in the morning, hesitating before stairs. It used to take 2 at a time. That's inflammation talking. And sardines go straight at it. The omega-3s inside are the same thing vets sell separately in a joint supplement bottle, except this version costs less than a coffee and sits in the canned fish aisle. The mistake most owners make trying this at home is handing over a whole fish and expecting a miracle overnight. Mash one with a fork into a rough paste, smear it thin across the top of the kibble like a glaze, and the smell hits before the dog even lowers its head. No single strong bite to reject outright. Within a few weeks, coats go glossy, and dogs that limped a little getting up start clearing the stairs without hesitation. Vets use this smear trick on dogs recovering from illness who've stopped eating. Small change. Completely different dog by month's end. Number 5, bone broth. There's a moment every vet recognizes. An older dog that used to jump into the car now hesitates at the bumper, stiff before it's even fully awake. That's the dog bone broth is built for. It's not just flavor, it's collagen that goes straight to worn joint cartilage, the kind of stiffness pills alone don't always fix. But pour it cold over kibble, and a suspicious dog walks right past it. The smell stays trapped. Freeze it into ice cubes instead, drop one straight into the bowl still frozen, and let it melt into a warm gravy that pulls a stiff, slow-moving dog across the kitchen floor. For a dog that's stopped jumping onto the couch, Stop begging for walks. This is often the first thing that gets its energy looking like it did 2 years ago. Vets keep a tray of these cubes in their own freezer. Nobody puts that on a bag of kibble. Number 6. Severe. Every vet has treated a dog that's pale in the gums, sluggish, tired for no reason, low iron, more common than owners realize, usually missed until it's already bad. Liver is the fastest fix in the fridge, packed with more usable iron than almost anything else a dog can eat. And it's the one smell that overrides even the pickiest dog's refusal to eat at all. Dice it small, sear it 30 seconds so the smell blooms through the kitchen, then scatter it over a bowl that's been ignored for days. Watch the dog that's been sniffing and walking away suddenly plant its face in the bowl and not lift it until empty. This is also the trick behind a dull, brittle coat catching light again within a couple of weeks. Vets carry diced liver in their pocket during training, off the clock. Never print it on the bag of food they sell you at checkout. Number 7. Oatmeal. A dog that's just come off antibiotics or recovering from surgery usually can't handle rich food yet, but it still needs to eat. And this is the quiet fix vets reach for at home before anything from the pharmacy. Cooked plain in water, no sugar, no cinnamon. It's soluble fiber, gentle enough to coat an upset gut instead of irritating it further, which is why it's often the first solid food handed back after illness, before anything richer is allowed. Dogs with sensitivities to wheat or corn tolerate oats without issue, making it the safety net most food allergy dogs never knew existed. The trick most owners miss is temperature. A cold bowl barely smells like anything to a dog whose appetite is already low. Mixed in warm, right before serving, the smell finally cuts through. Owners who've watched a dog refuse food for a full day are often shocked this plain bowl works, and even more shocked it's sitting quietly on their own vet's kitchen counter too. Number 8. Blueberries. An older dog that's slower to respond to its name, a little foggier than it used to be. Vets see that shift constantly, and blueberries are one of the few foods that actually push back against it. The antioxidants fight the kind of cellular damage behind that fog, the same slow process showing up as gray fur creeping in around the muzzle. Drop loose into a bowl, though, they roll to the bottom and get ignored. Most dogs won't dig through kibble for them. Vets skip the bowl entirely and hand them over frozen, one at a time, straight from the hand, turning feeding into a moment a dog actually looks forward to instead of a meal it eats on autopilot. Puppies deep in teething go for them instantly, cold enough to soothe sore gums the way a chew toy would. A few times a week, and owners of older dogs start noticing something sharper looking back. Number 9. Sweet potato. An overweight dog circling an empty bowl an hour after eating, still begging, still restless. That's the exact problem sweet potato solves, without the calorie load of a bigger second meal. The fiber keeps a dog full for longer on the same amount of food, which does more for a strained joint than any supplement ever could, simply because there's less weight pressing down on it every single day. Mashed and dropped straight in the bowl, though, it gets treated like pumpkin. One suspicious sniff, then nothing, the dog wandering off instead of eating. Vets change the format instead of fighting the same losing battle nightly. Sliced into strips, no oil, no salt, baked low and slow until chewy like jerky, and suddenly a dog that walked past the mash is chewing on it by choice for 10 straight minutes. Win the texture fight, and the begging, the weight, the joint strain all start easing together. Number 10. Cottage cheese. An old dog that stopped getting excited about food, a dog 3 days post-surgery still ignoring the bowl, a dog quietly grieving another pet in the house. Every vet has faced this exact silence, and cottage cheese breaks it more often than anything else in the clinic. Gentle on a weak stomach, low enough in fat not to add strain, it still carries enough protein to hold onto muscle, while a dog's body is busy healing. Served cold from the fridge, the way most owners default to, it barely registers at all. Warmed just slightly first, the smell wakes up enough to cut through an appetite that's completely shut down, and vets have watched dogs that hadn't eaten in 2 full days lift their head for this exact bowl, ears up, suddenly interested again. It's sitting in your fridge right now, and it's the one most of them only mention quietly, one-on-one, never in a rushed 5-minute appointment. Number 11, green beans. An overweight dog begging for a second helping 20 minutes after finishing the first. That's the exact scene green beans were built to interrupt, quietly, without a prescription diet involved. They're almost pure fiber and water, meaning a dog can eat a genuinely large portion and still land under the calorie count of a handful of kibble, which is the actual trick behind what some vets privately call the green bean protocol for weight loss. Handed over raw and whole, though, most dogs either ignore them completely or crunch once and spit the rest out onto the floor. Steam them soft, chop them small, and mix them straight into the existing food so there's nothing distinct left to sort out and reject. A dog that's been circling the bowl for more food an hour later starts settling down for a nap instead. Vets recommend this instead of the expensive prescription weight loss bag sitting behind the counter, but almost nobody hears about it unless they ask directly. Number 12, carrots. A dog with tartar building up along the back teeth, breath turning sour between cleanings. That's a dental problem most owners don't catch until the vet points a light at it, and carrots are one of the cheapest tools against it. The crunch scrapes plaque off the tooth surface the same way a dental chew does, at a fraction of the price, and the low-calorie count makes it safe even for a dog already watching its weight. Handed over at room temperature, though, a lot of dogs treat a whole carrot like a chew toy that's too much effort and abandon it halfway through. Cut into sticks and frozen solid instead, the added cold turns it into something worth finishing. The extra resistance means more grinding against the teeth before it's gone. Puppies deep in teething go for the frozen version almost on instinct. Vets suggest this before they'll suggest a bag of dental treats twice the price for half the benefit. Number 13, turkey. A dog that's constantly itchy, ears inflamed, stomach upset no matter what's changed in the bowl. Vets see this pattern constantly, and it's often not the food itself, but the protein inside it, usually chicken. Plain cooked turkey, no skin, no bones, no seasoning, is the protein swap vets reach for first before recommending an expensive prescription diet, because it's lean, easy to digest, and rarely the trigger behind the same symptoms. The problem is a dog that's used to rich, flavorful meals often treats a bland pile of shredded turkey as beneath its interest and walks straight past the bowl. Shred it warm and stir in a splash of the broth it was cooked in, and the smell alone is usually enough to erase that hesitation completely. Within a couple of weeks on turkey alone, a lot of owners watch the itching, the ear infections, the loose stool all quietly clear up. Proof it was never really about the amount of food, just what was hiding inside it. Number 14, apples. A dog whose breath clears a room before a single word of greeting is said. Vets hear that complaint constantly, and an apple slice is the fix most of them keep in their own kitchen instead of a bottle of breath spray from the pet aisle. The natural acidity helps break down the bacteria behind the smell, and the fiber gives teeth something to work against on the way down. Seeds and core removed completely since those carry real risk. A whole slice, skin still on, gets chewed once by a lot of dogs and left half-eaten on the floor, too tough to bother finishing. Grate it fine into the food instead, or freeze thin slices until they turn into a crisp, almost chip-like texture, and the same dog that abandoned the slice finishes the bowl without pausing. Vets keep this ready before a dental cleaning appointment as the easiest short-term fix for a smell that would otherwise need a professional scrub to clear. Number 15, watermelon. A dog panting hard on a summer walk, tongue out further than usual, a little slower to get up afterward? That's early heat stress, and it's exactly what watermelon is built to head off before it becomes a real emergency. It's over 90% water, which makes it one of the fastest ways to rehydrate a dog that's reluctant to just drink from a bowl after exercise. Seeds and rind removed completely since both cause real problems going down. Handed over as a soft, dripping chunk, a lot of cautious dogs sniff it once and back away, unsure of the texture. Frozen into small cubes instead, it becomes something closer to an ice treat, cold enough to actively lower body temperature while it's being eaten rather than after. Vets keep a tray of these frozen in the clinic through the hottest months, ready for dogs that come in overheated, and it's rarely something owners are told to prep for at home in advance. Number 16, coconut oil. A dog with dry, flaking skin that scratches through the night, coat looking dull no matter how often it's brushed. Vets see this constantly in winter, and a small amount of coconut oil is the quiet fix a lot of them use on their own dogs before reaching for a prescription skin cream. The fatty acids inside support the skin barrier from within. Calming irritation, a topical treatment can only manage from the outside. Straight off the spoon, though, plenty of dogs find the oiliness off-putting and lick around it, leaving most behind in the bowl. Melt a small amount and stir it thoroughly into the food instead, or freeze it into tiny treat-sized coins a dog takes as a snack rather than a chore. Used sparingly, a coat that's been dry for months starts looking noticeably healthier within weeks. Used too heavily, it causes the exact stomach upset it's supposed to help with, which is the part vets are careful to mention quietly, not the internet trend version. Number 17. Chia seeds, a dog with stiff, achy joints that vets have already recommended fish oil for, but the bottle sits half-used because the dog hates the taste. Chia seeds solve the same joint support problem from a completely different angle, with almost no smell at all to reject. Sprinkled dry over food, though, they mostly pass straight through undigested, doing almost nothing nutritionally, which is the exact mistake most owners make trying this at home without knowing the actual trick. Soaked in a little water or broth, first until they turn into a soft, gel-like texture, the omega-3s and fiber inside actually become available for a dog's body to absorb and use. Mixed into a warm meal once they've gelled, a dog that's been reluctant on fish oil for months finally gets the same joint benefit without a single fight at the bowl. Vets know this soak step matters more than the seed itself, but it rarely gets mentioned past a single quick sentence in a busy appointment. Number 18. Quinoa, a dog with a poultry or grain allergy that keeps circling back no matter how many chicken-based diets get tried. Vets often reach for quinoa here before recommending an expensive prescription hypoallergenic bag because it's a complete protein on its own, something most grains simply aren't. It also digests slower than rice, keeping an active, high-energy dog fueled through a longer stretch of the day without a second meal being necessary. Cooked plain in water, though, it comes out dry and fluffy, and a lot of dogs pick at it once before abandoning the bowl entirely, uninterested in something that smells like almost nothing. Cooked in the same bone broth mentioned earlier instead of plain water, it absorbs real flavor as it cooks, and a dog that ignored the plain version eats the broth-cooked batch like it's a treat rather than a chore. Vets quietly call it the hypoallergenic shortcut, the one that costs a few dollars instead of triple that for a prescription bag doing roughly the same job. So here's the uncomfortable math. 18 foods your vet already uses at home. And if you're honest, how many of these were you actually doing before today? 0 isn't embarrassing. Nobody handed you this list before now. And if you want the actual weekly rotation, which of these pair together? Which days? How much for your dog size? Comment rotation, and it'll get pinned right below for you. Somewhere in these comments is an owner whose dog hasn't touched food in 2 days.